Let's talk about TSU. Tennessee state officials and the university have both said that they've literally run out of money.
I mean, can't make payroll kind of out of money.
It's not an easy thing to say, but between what I've read and what my colleague Emily West has reported on, we figured, you know what, let's just get all the information out there. The school right now has been told that they need to make massive cuts.
You're here basically to take it down to the studs and then rebuild it. I know you know that.
Yeah, that's going to mean cutting tenured professors and whole degree programs.
The state, meanwhile, says that they already gave TSU an advance of $11 million. And on top of that, they gave them another $32 million that was supposed to be spent on an agricultural building on campus. Without this money, the university wouldn't have been able to make payroll this month.
And I mean, payrolls between $18 to $20 million.
You cannot sustain this level of monthly payroll. It is just not possible.
TSU responded by saying that they've made about $11 million in cuts and laid off about 114 employees.
We can't cut any deeper in the supplies and the travel. So yes, you're right. We got to look at the people.
Even after making all of those changes, it's not clear if that's going to be enough. So the question, of course, how did we get into this mess? Now, I know many of you have been asking about this $2.1 billion that TSU is owed. We'll get to that in a second. But first, I remember in the past couple of years here, I've had people reaching out saying their scholarships are not being honored, or that they were promised housing and they ended up in a motel nearby.
Our tuition increased this year, and then you take my daughter off campus and put her here.
I'm trying not to, let that interfere with my work, but it's like, how can I not when I have to worry about being homeless next semester and not even getting my degree next semester because of this issue with my scholarship?
It made sense that the state heard a lot of the same complaints. So apparently TSU got COVID money to help them with, any number of expenses. What ended up happening is they used this one-time money to nearly quadruple their scholarship funding. They brought in a ton of students that they really couldn't afford.
It's almost like they forgot they would have to fund them for 4 years.
So this is what led lawmakers to vacate the school board and replace them with new people. Not long after that, Dr. Glenda Glover, the school president, she stepped down. So then we find out that former President Glover signed a contract with TSU to get paid about $800,000 to advise them right before she left.
And when the interim president was speaking to the comptroller, they weren't even sure the ins and outs of her own contract.
So of course, lawmakers wanted to know, how is the same person who was involved in getting TSU into where it is today is still getting paid by the university?
The lack of checks and balances is beyond troubling.
Now that's one side of the argument. The other side, obviously, is about the underfunding, which I have my notes. So for those of you who don't know, the U.S. Department of Education and the USDA sent a letter to TSU and the state saying TSU has been underfunded for years to the tune of $2.1 billion.
In theory, the University of Tennessee and TSU are supposed to be funded the same way, based on a federal policy that they provide education for agriculture and business. So per pupil spending is supposed to be the same. I found out that that is absolutely not the same.
I remember in your article you said UT just last year got about $400 and something million in funding, whereas TSU got $63 million.
The University of Tennessee has thousands more kids, but per kid that goes to this school, the state is not funding each kid the same.
So to cut into this $2.1 billion that the state apparently underfunded TSU, they paid TSU about $250 million. Obviously, that's a drop in the bucket when you're talking about billions of dollars that are owed.
This number came out in late 23. No one said a word in the legislature in 2024.
I think this is where the state is trying to make the argument that TSU has proven they don't know what to do with the funding that they're given.
It's almost like they're using it to validate not giving them back the $2.1 billion.
Even though we know that the money is still owed to TSU. You can make an argument for one way or the other. There's a meeting that's coming up soon.
And this meeting is public. They're going to be talking about their finances, and they're going to be having like a full board vote. TSU students, TSU professors,
alumni,
like anybody can get involved in this meeting to at least spectate and watch. And they're going to have to look some of these professors in the face and basically tell them that their degree programs no longer exist and they may lose their jobs.
Like I said, it's complicated. But of course, we're wondering, what do you think?